Here comes Carl with a gnarl. Carl with a gnarl. Gradually getting to him. Carl with a gnarl. Smoking hot blonde by better than 5 lengths to rack on twos. And don't you wish your horse was hot like me? Smoking hot blonde. And there they go. Slow start. Curly, Larry, and Mo. Nyuk, 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 nyuk.
You're listening to the Auxiliary Gate Podcast, Kentucky's weekly horse racing discussion. And now, here are your hosts, Alan Schneider, the bearded handicapper, Geoff Riggs, and me, CC Broaddus. Hello, friends. It's time now for the show with the most. It's the Auxiliary Gate Podcast, episode number 238 on March 10th. 2026. I'm CC Broaddus, joined by Alan Schneider. Welcome back. 238, sir.
Wow. And it's Mario Day. Mario Day, March 10th. That was a trivia question I got on the way home from work one day. What is March 10th called in some places? And I won, like, I don't know, free dinner somewhere. Yeah, today's Mario Day.
Well, it's also another day, but before we get to that,
Okay.
Geoff Riggs is here, surprisingly.
Was that surprisingly? I've been here most of the time recently.
I wasn't sure. I just had a feeling in my bones.
Oh.
But speaking of anniversaries, today, March 10th, 2026, is the 150th anniversary of a New York Times article describing the Kentucky meat shower. Now, have you guys ever heard of the Kentucky meat shower?
It sounds like, well, that sounds kind of nasty, like something from college, but so hope that's not it.
Well, I know you're a meat connoisseur.
Depending on what you mean by
I've heard of this. Like, I don't know any details, but I feel it's like ringing a bell somewhere.
All right, well, this is a teaser. We're going to talk about this at the end of the show.
Okay.
So keep that in the back of your mind. Bring this up if I forget, because I'm old and I tend to forget things. But we're going to talk about the Kentucky meat shower and the anniversary of one of the greatest events of the 1800s in relation to our great state of Kentucky. Okay?
Okay, all right.
I'm excited.
As long as it's not a golden shower.
I'm setting the hook right now. Right now I'm setting the hook, and then I'm going to reel you all in a little bit later, okay?
Look forward to it.
All right, first, let's talk about the Kentucky Derby preps over the weekend. On Saturday was the Tampa Bay Derby at Tampa Bay Downs and the San Felipe Stakes at Santa Anita. Let's talk about the Tampa Bay Derby. First, the Puma with a parking lot trip, 3 to 4 wide all the way around, gets up to win the Tampa Bay Derby, earns a buyer of 85 that was downgraded from a 93. Apparently, the speed figure pundit said the track slowed down because there was rain earlier on the card, and it kind of slowed the track down. So that buyer rating was that buyer figure was downgraded to an 85. So not a very fast Tampa Bay Derby, but a wide trip, an impressive effort for a third-time starter in the Puma. Tell us what you think, guys.
I know the buyer's low, and there's probably not a serious Derby contender coming out of that. I hate to say that because I feel like a couple have a chance to move forward. That said, there's a couple really nice efforts in there. One was the Puma, but I would almost throw Cataletto. I don't have a hard time saying a horse's name. Canaletto, even more so. I know he got beat, but that horse was 5 wide on the turn. State drifted even a little further out. I know the Puma was wide most of the way, but Canaletto fought all the way down the lane. Looked like he was trying to lug in between horses. And as they got to the wire, it looked like the Puma was going to draw away. Further ado, fought back, but Canaletto just kept fighting on and actually only lost that race by half a length between horses. He gets a more comfortable trip, maybe shortens up. That horse has some talent right there. The Puma does too, but I know a lot of people are like, it's a man race. I don't think it was a man race at all. I thought there's some talent there, and Canaletto's the one I like coming out of there.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you said. It wasn't a race that, blew me out of the water or anything, but I do like Canaletto coming out of it. Is he half to Sandman? Is that who he's half to?
CC, I'm off the top of my
Hold
head.
on, I'm looking for it. I'm looking
Okay.
I
for it.
think
But
so.
yeah,
I don't.
he kind of a little bit reminds me of him. I know they don't like, you know, not like physically, but just kind of grinds away. As you said, the buyer in that race wasn't huge, but I did think the Puma ran well, and I saw a lot of people that we're friends with were on the Puma for that race. I was happy for their case in general, at least gambling wise, that one came through. It was an interesting race. It was a great battle of the wire. Some horses that are going to be battle tested, which you need going into that Kentucky Derby. You need to be tested a little bit because you're going to be in a 20 horse field. So I kind of had mixed emotions for that group in general, but I think I kind of lean the way that Alan was saying that the Puma and Canaletto are the two I'm most interested in, but neither being like a top Derby contender for me.
I am always hesitant, and you'll see this nonstop this time of the year. Horses who have flashy debuts in one turn mile races, particularly at Gulfstream. Catalyttle's one that comes to mind. There's
Mhm.
several others. They will go two turns, and they will disappoint the public at low odds over and over and over again. It happens to Todd Pletcher a lot. I'd rather see him go 6 or 7 furlongs then go to mile to 16th. There's something about that softer pace and sometimes in these inexperienced races at one turns. But I thought Cataletto, I thought he handled himself well going the two turns. He really did have a lot of trouble. I think a lot of trouble trips are overrated, and I think a lot of them are people are just looking for excuses. But I actually think he one had a legit rough trip for a second career start. But then again, the Puma only
Yeah,
had his third career start. Further ado ran okay. He kind of fought back, but I don't know if he's Derby caliber.
might be another one that
Canaletto is
peaked
a
too early.
Yeah,
Canaletto is a half brother to Sandman,
There you go.
and the Puma trained by Gustavo Delgado, who is known for Mage.
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 And Mage is basically similar to this horse in terms of starts going into the Derby, right? I think Mage
Yeah.
had three,
Yep.
and
Same.
Yep.
uh,
Yep.
is
Same
the
ownership
Puma
too. Same ownership.
same owner? Puma, the Puma's going to go Florida Derby maybe or Bluegrass, or I don't know. I haven't heard
I
anything.
can't. I cannot remember. I've heard and I cannot remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
On the one of the also rans in that spot, Power Shift,
It was
second time
awful.
start. He was awful. He had a bad start. This is a type of horse to show up on Derby Day and run one of those maiden races and he'll win by 7.
I've heard
Yeah.
a lot of talk about that, and something I actually agreed. Something had crossed my mind entering the race. He and is it Extended Market, the horse that beat him in his maiden race, something close to that. Um, they went ding dong the whole way down a stretch last time, going two turns in the first career start, like 13 lengths clear of the rest of the field. Emerging market, and that might have been a little too tough for a horse making his second career. So that probably took something out of him, and that
That's
might have
not
been.
that's not Todd Pletcher's MO to turn around like that. Power Shift
Yeah.
ran March or February 7th, comes back 4 weeks later. That's a little too much too soon, right?
Yeah, but coming off that effort where they were just so far ahead of the rest of the field, such huge numbers in a career debut going two turns. So not surprising he threw in the towel, but still was a terrible effort overall.
The Emerging Market's going to run the Louisiana Derby in 2 weeks. Now a
He's
week
got
and a half.
he's got a little more time now. He's getting a little.
Right,
He's got 2 more weeks. So
right, right. And then the San Felipe Stakes was on the same day, won by Potente,
Yes, sir.
a horse that popped up on our radar several weeks ago. Wins the San Felipe by a head over 67 to one shot. Robusta, another race that didn't come back all that fast, earned an 89 buyer. And Brant at 4 to 5 finished fifth, set the pace and weakened. I don't think he's really a Kentucky Derby type animal. Potente, Robusta, not in love with these two either in terms of Derby. Maybe Pat Day Mile or even Preakness Stakes, something like that. What do you guys or Geoff? I know you watched this. What do you think?
Yeah, I liked this race because I bet Potente at 8 to 1, and been a fan of that one since we did have Beto on here. Pays to listen to the Auxiliary Gate because we asked him about Bob's Young Horses Derby contenders, and we asked about Brent, we asked about Boyd, and he was like, they're talented horses. And then we were like, is there anybody that you're really excited about? He was like, yeah, this horse Potente that has yet to debut is a serious runner. So definitely got on my radar when that happened. And I mean, he's done nothing wrong in two starts. I agree with you that Derby may be kind of a stretch for this horse at this point, especially only having two starts under his belt so far. And I don't think it's the strongest field. I did think that the 89 buyer was kind of respectable for what it looked like visually, though. I think he probably still has some room to grow. He may be a horse that's maybe better down the line, farther down the line than Derby. Maybe Derby is coming a little too quick for him, or maybe he doesn't quite want the distance, like you were saying to CC. But he's done absolutely nothing wrong in two starts so far. He's the only one out of this race I'm interested in moving forward, but I do think he's interesting.
Yeah, the also rans probably don't want to go this far. So happy, probably a sprinter. And Secured Freedom was a disappointment. I was kind of high on him. A little rank early on. It might give him a second chance if he shows up in the Santa Anita Derby. If they can figure out a way to get him to relax early, he might come running late. But a little sprinty pedigree on him too. So I don't know. And then Brant probably goes back to one turn, and he'll win
Yeah,
all
I think
the
so.
grade ones for sprinters. All right. Enough Derby talk. It's party time now. Let's get right to our special guest.
And we are back. I am extra excited for our special guest this evening. We have had him on here before. I believe we were actually the first to do a long form interview with him after he officially made his move to Kentucky, but he is the voice of Turfway and Ellis Park, as well as a host and analyst on the Churchill Downs broadcast. He's one of the most recognizable, knowledgeable, and entertaining personalities in the game, someone I have admired for a long time, and now have the honor to call a good friend as well. It is Tony Calo. Tony, thanks for joining us tonight, man.
Right on, Geoff. Thanks for having me again, guys.
Tony, so how's Turfway treating you? How's the meet going so far?
That's going pretty good. It's good to get behind the mic again as an announcer. It's pretty cool gig that I got these days where half the year I'm trying to teach people about handicapping on horses, and then the other half of the year I get to announce the races. So the holiday season was a little tough at first. The big fields coming off the lot of work at Churchill in November. That's a tough meet for that November meet at Churchill. That 5 days a week with the big fields and long days, and then go straight into calling races with those big fields. But got through it. I listened back to some of my replays of the holiday meet. There's a couple calls here and there. I'm like, when I'm going back, gosh, listen to that. Just didn't quite have some of the rhythm I wanted, but of late, I feel like my rhythm's been pretty good. So been pretty happy.
Oh yeah, we've definitely noticed that. Especially recently, it feels like you've really been having a good time with it, and that's one of the things that I love about Turfway in general is just the overall vibe, being night racing, how interactive it is with fans on site and social media, and I feel like you've really embraced that with your creative and
Yes.
clever
Yes.
race calls and social media presence as well. Is that something you especially enjoy, Tony?
I would most definitely. The nighttime vibe gives you that little bit of energy, especially like when you get on Fridays alive. I get pumped up for the Friday night action and
Absolutely.
try to have some fun. It's funny. I know I've got my haters out there on Twitter, and they'll sit there and just say that I try to be cute and clever. I would say 90% of my race calls are nothing but just bread and butter and to the fact. And there's maybe even a little less than 10% where I have a little bit of fun. So sometimes I get annoyed at the people that just say, I'm out there trying to to just be as cool as I can, and I want all this attention. I just like having fun with some names, and I don't think I
Yeah.
get sometimes, especially the haters. I just don't think they really give me enough credit for the body of a race call.
Hmm.
From start to finish. Because like I said, 95% of my race calls, I don't feel like there's a lot of goofing off and a lot of cleverness with it. It's just the facts, which is good.
Right, right. Yeah, you don't make that the only thing going on. Like you said, it's a small percentage of the time, but I mean, even when you do, it's not like that's your whole race call. You still deliver
Yeah.
your normal race call and then maybe throw one line in down the stretch or something. But it's something that I would say 99% of people enjoy. So I would definitely keep doing that. Regardless of the haters, I think everybody's always going to have something to say, but I think a lot more people enjoy it than don't.
Yeah.
Turfway in general, obviously it's a challenge, unique challenge. We kind of talked about just the grind of the schedule already. The huge fields at Turfway, not the easiest vantage point for you either. So I know it's obviously not easy for you now, but just has it gotten any easier for you now that you've been the permanent guy there for a few years? Like, have you been able to find your groove and kind of roll through it better now?
Yeah, I would say so. I kind of like it was funny. I remember when I got the job in 23, and it was like about January of 24. So the holiday season had already finished up, and we're in January. It was about the second or third week of January, and I felt like I was like, okay, think I have a kind of a grasp on this racetrack. And so it came relatively quick on that front. And now I pretty much have the same routine. I get to my booth, I do my coloring, and I start I would during the holiday meet I seem to color a little bit more earlier in the day. Now the field sizes have kind of let up a little bit, so my coloring starts a little later. But the horses start walking over for each race, and I'll try to note equipment, color of blinkers. So I've got my routine down, and I start memorizing the names of the horses, and that way it's all like as soon as they get on the racetrack, especially in the colder nights. Colder nights make it hard because they only give you about 3 or 4 minutes to learn them. But of late they've been giving me 9 or 10, which is pretty good. So, but I've got my routine down by far. I know the racetrack, and I know I cheat a little bit on the TV. I bought some really, really nice binoculars for last season, some Canon
Hmm.
stabilizers that they were worth more than my Toyota 4Runner at the time. And I've really, really learned how to get into the races with them too. So I haven't been relying as much on the television monitor, at least out of the chute. The TV, the 6.5 furlongs out of the chute. The TV monitor is kind of cool at the start, and then I'll get into the race. The route races, I'm in the binoculars from the very beginning all the way to about the far turn, and then I look at the TV for a little brief. But I kind of know
Gotcha.
what I've got to do to get through that racetrack. It's just not high enough. That's the problem, and I've
Yeah,
said that before on
right.
this
I know
on this
we've talked
show.
about that before. Yeah, hmm.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's just not quite high enough. And when you get if you've got 4 or 5 horses across the racetrack, it's hard to see the one that might be in the 3 or the 4 path if they're surrounded with a couple to his inside and a couple to his outside. So it makes it a little tough. Even with my Canon stabilizers, it can get a little difficult trying to figure out who that horse is at times. So, but yeah, no, I feel
Wow,
very comfortable. That's for sure.
that's good. So those new binoculars that you got, the Canon stabilizers. So do they like do what the name says, like stabilize your field of view and make it easier to track?
Yes, their batter, they have a couple batteries, and then you
Hmm?
push a button, and then it locks it in for like so many minutes, and then it will eventually get out of the stabilizer. But yeah, it just
Oh,
locks it in.
interesting.
So yeah, it's pretty cool, especially like if you're shaking a little bit. So and they're just really, really good binoculars, and they get you right in there. The what are they? I don't think they're 10 by 50s. I think they're 10 by 45s or something like that. Let
Uh-huh.
me see. I got them right here. See if I can try to figure out. I always use like some Nikon's 10 by 50s, and I like the circle of view on those. These might be 15 by 45s or something of that nature, but
Okay.
they're pretty cool, that's for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, I had no idea that was even a thing. So it's a whole new world to me, but it makes a ton of
Yeah.
sense. That's something that is very needed in your profession. So I'm glad you got the best of the best there, and it's obviously working out well for you.
Yeah, they're 15 by 50s. 15 by
15 by
50s. And I
50s.
always use the 10 by 50s because you get a little bit more of the field view. You get a little bit more from the beginning to the end of the field, but I think these are better, no question about it.
Very cool. Well, just thinking about watching races in general, I love watching races with you because you always can pick up on a horse that's farther back in the pack that
Hmm.
no one would recognize that you can tell early on, and it's just fun to watch it unfold once you call out something like that. And you do that in your race calls too as well, which I think is it's not unique. It's not, other people do some of that, but I don't know that anyone will really get excited about a horse as early as you do with as much accuracy as you do it with. Is that a product of just probably watching hundreds of thousands of races? Is that something that you've always been able to do?
I would say it's from watching a lot of races. I always had a pretty good eye at picking up on horses making runs. I remember even my early years before I even made it to the headset or in a booth, just in my tape recorder, and I could catch horses runs pretty good. And obviously now, I mean, I've been doing it for a lot of years, and I'm getting older. I'll be, I'm 57 now, so I've been calling races for almost 34 years. I think it'll be 34 years in September is when I first started calling into a tape recorder.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
I
so and nowadays, a lot has to do with flow. Like if you
yeah.
recognize that they're going really, really quick early, it's just your brain tells you to start looking for somebody from off the pace, especially in
Hmm.
those route races when you see a 23 and change at opening quarter at Turfway. That's pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense. And I'm sure we probably asked you one of the times you were previously on the podcast, but do you know how many different racetracks you've actually called into like races at this point?
Let's see. Let's add them all up, huh?
Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. Vallejo. That was the Solano County Fair in Northern California, '94. That was when I debuted. I called two races on closing day. So then Bay Meadows and Golden Gate Fields. So there's three in California. I've called at Turf Paradise, Arapahoe, Downs at Albuquerque, Sunray Park, Sam Houston, Lone Star, Finger Lakes, Batavia, which is a harness racetrack outside of Finger Lakes, about 30 minutes away. I've called some
I'm
races
glad you
there.
explained that one. I was not familiar.
Yeah, that's why I called some standard bred races there, and then obviously Finger Lakes, and now the three racetracks here in Kentucky that I work for. Churchill, I've filled in on Derby Day for Travis,
Hmm.
and then Ellis and Turfway.
Turfway.
I don't think I'm missing any other one.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. I needed multiple hands as I was counting through. I needed three hands, I think it was. So
What
it's
did we get to? Did
I think it
anyone
was
count it?
14 or 15. Did you guys count? I might have
I,
missed one in there.
I can't
I
count that high.
I can't count either. It's like
Yeah, it was at least 14 or 15. So you're definitely racking them up, but we're very happy that you're with us in Kentucky right now for sure. That's 100%. I know these guys have some questions, so before I kick you over to CC, I just kind of wanted to pick your brain for a second. It's hard to believe that we're less than 2 months away from the Kentucky Derby. And are there any prospects that you have your eye on at this point, or is it still too early to kind of make those kind of calls?
Well, I think we're getting closer. Obviously, and these last few weeks have been pretty cool. I thought the Commandment Chief Wallaby race was pretty awesome so far. I think that's
Mhm.
one of the better preps I've seen. They're both up there. I think Paladin's probably pretty legit. Um, Nearly, we'll see how good Nearly is. The Florida Derby shaping up to be a really good one. So I made an early bet on Commandment in pool two, so I've got a root for him.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. It gives you something to follow, give you something to root for. I think those are cool bets for sure.
I will say that I thought Chief Wallaby looked pretty good in defeat, and that horse probably has a lot of upside. So those,
Yes.
but I, little tough, little early. Still got a couple more weeks to go.
Mhm. Yeah,
Start
we're
getting
not
it
going to
all
lock you
figured
in.
out.
We're not going to lock you in, but those those are good ones to keep in
Obviously,
mind.
obviously, for my own selfish point, I'm rooting for Commandment at this
Commandment.
juncture. So
There we go. That's the official way too early Tony Calo Derby pick for us. There we go. All right, CC, you take it away. I know you got some questions for Tony.
All right, I've got a serious question. I mean, this is a very serious question. What's it like knowing that on this particular Zoom call we're doing right here, there's four people here? What's it like knowing that you are no better than the second best poker player?
Yeah, that's something that I'm having trouble sleeping with at night. That's for sure. No,
Well,
that's
I just want to let the people know the last time I sat at a table with you, I finished ahead of you in a tournament. And
I know that.
I don't have much success at anything anymore. But I
You had
was
some game. You had game that night. I don't know. You actually, yeah, you and Riggs. I played with Riggs. I think when did we play Riggs? I think it was the end of the 2025 meet or
Yeah,
24 meet. I think it
yeah, it was
was.
like a year ago now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And Riggs, I got heads up with Riggs, and I wasn't faring too well. And luckily, we had already determined that we were going to end the tourney in a short span. Otherwise, I think Riggs was going to pull off a massive upset coming to get me in heads up. And
I was
Cece
nipping at
was
your heels.
you really were you were like dominating. I was like, man, this is not good. And then Cece was on my right hand side, and I was like, geez, every time I seemed to act, this guy wasn't like going anywhere. I was like, God. Yeah,
Well,
no, I'm looking forward to a rematch with both you guys. That's for sure. And Joe K. I mean, I don't even know how we let him win that night. I don't know how he got all the
that's
cards.
yeah, that sucked. I
The inquiry sign is still up because I had that seat, and he wanted to be able to watch his Bears beat my Raiders, so I gave up that seat to him. Those would have been my
Well,
cards.
that's fishy anyway. Anytime somebody they will only use one seat at a poker table, got to take an extra look at that, right?
You really do, especially when we drew for him with cards, and everybody was got their
Uh,
assigned seat, and no, Joe wanted my seat. So the inquiry sign kind of still is up on that one. But CC, don't let CC kid you guys. CC's got a lot of game. He's kind of sneaky quiet on the table. He doesn't really say a lot, and that I don't like guys that don't talk a lot on poker tables.
I couldn't get an edge or a word in edgewise, to be honest. So that's why I don't talk. But seriously, do you play a lot of poker?
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Obviously during the online days, I would play a little bit. When I was at Finger Lakes, my girlfriend Jen she lived in Pennsylvania, so I'd go visit her all the time. And you can play online in PA. So she used to kid around with me. I don't even know if you're here to see me or just play at poker. I go, come on, babe. But no, I don't really play that much anymore.
Is it because there's no games around, or just you don't you just rather not?
Uh, you,
There's nowhere for me to play.
yeah, I mean, I guess we could go to what? Where's that nearest casino? Which one is that? That's the
Well,
Caesars.
you
Is
know,
that what it is?
Southern Indiana probably is
Yeah,
closest, yeah.
they have
But
games. I think they have games all the time, but I don't
yeah,
venture into there. Something about
there's a
poker rooms. I've never really been big into going into the poker rooms. Those guys are a little different.
yeah, there's a couple poker clubs in Louisville, but I've never been to them. Probably
Yeah.
not my probably good thing for me to stay out.
I figured, what, between the horses, there's enough of action I got going on. So, but I wouldn't mind. We need to get the poker game going a little bit more regular.
Yeah,
I got
I
that
agree.
nice felt for us and all that. So
I agree.
there we
I
we,
agree.
go. I'm in.
I'm vote for it.
I'm
I'm
in,
vote.
baby.
yeah, we'll get one going here soon again. But yeah, don't let CC kid you. He's got a lot of game, and he is right. I am only the second best poker. I might be the third best poker player out of this group.
We know
I still
who's
don't know what I
we
don't
know
know
who's
what
fourth.
We know who the fourth one is. Yes, Alan.
No
Well, that's because
question.
Alan says he doesn't play.
No.
I was watching some of your old calls at Bay Meadows and Golden Gate Fields. Uh, is it safe to say maybe last 30, 40 years, Lost in the Fog is probably the best sprinter to come out of Northern California?
I would say that for sure.
Uh, who would be second? Soviet Problem, maybe?
Yeah, Soviet problem. Very good.
I'm
She
trying to
almost
think
won the
of,
Breeders' Cup. She almost won the Breeders' Cup that year. She was one heck of a filly.
yeah, I had her. No, wait a minute. I didn't have her. I actually had Cherokee Run to beat her in the Breeders' Cup
Right.
Sprint. That's about
Yeah.
the only Breeders' Cup horse I ever landed on. But, uh, yeah, you've there's a bunch of your calls on YouTube, which is pretty cool.
John Forbes, I think, is the gentleman that puts a lot of that stuff on there. I was funny. He was telling me there's speaking of a good sprinter in Northern California. His name is Big Jag, and John told me that he's got some stuff of Big Jag that he's going to be putting out there in a few weeks or a month or so. But yeah, it's pretty cool listening to some of the old stuff. I don't like listening to my voice, but it's amazing. It's kind of like listening to Durkin in his early Breeders' Cup years, and then how his voice matured as he got older as well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you were fantastic back then. I enjoy going back and listening to those calls. But yeah, that's pretty cool. So you're also in addition to your talent as a race caller, you're a pretty good handicapper too. I know you went on a roll at Churchill back in the summer. You gave out a bunch of winning pick fives on air. What do you get tired of winning?
Yeah, no, not when it comes to making not those pick five bets. That's for sure. I get tired of losing, to be honest. Losing is tough. It's funny. And when I got the job as the analyst, the the thing that's tough about the analyst when you're slumping, boy, man, it can beat
Yeah.
you up. It just you walk out of there deflated. You're not thinking that good about yourself, and you go and you're handicapping exactly the same way, but then you're making the wrong decision in the morning because you're pressing. Must be like a baseball player that's in a slump. That's what it must feel like.
What what's the more I talk to people, it's kind of the same thing. What's your method? Replays or daily racing form sheets?
Yep,
Uh,
DRF formulator.
you watch a
Watch
lot of
a
replays.
watch a lot of replays, and then obviously with the 2 year olds and Bruno in the works, watch a lot of the works, do the pedigree, and you just try to hopefully come up with the right angles. Try to find
Do
stuff
you
that maybe other people aren't seeing. There's certain horses that just I don't know, they jump out to me like I'll be like that horse is a runner, and maybe people don't recognize it.
yeah. Do you like how far in advance? Because I do my best work on like Wednesday because that's the first day of the week. I got 2 days to look at something, and then after that, I totally neglect Thursday or Friday. Like, how far in advance do you do your work for a card?
It's pretty much I will I will take a brief look a couple days out, but I'm not really doing most of my hardcore handicapping until the morning of, I would say. I'll kind of know who's already in, and I've already watched a few replays, but boy, I really buckle down. I try to get up early and get into it. Makes for some long days, that's for sure. Because I have a hard time going home at night after the races are over, and I'm tired. And the last thing I want to do is handicap when I'm feeling like I'm already burned out. You know. So
It,
I'll wait till
it,
I'll get up early in the morning, and I'll get that 4 or 5 good hours before the day starts, and that's I've already looked at the card obviously, but I haven't really dove into it as hard as I do.
See, it's funny. It's different for me because especially Keeneland or Churchill, after a good day, or if I hit the last race on the card, or I get on a roll, which is about twice a year, that's the first thing I want to do is look at the next day's card and start working on it that night. And but I can understand it's a little different with you because you do it for a living. But yeah,
I'll give it. You know what I do? I'll settle down. After I get off work. I'll come home and I'll relax for a little bit, have some dinner, and then I'll take a look. I'll maybe give it an hour look. The cool thing is, like, with the horses you already know, you kind of already have an idea.
Yeah.
Especially with the horses that that the ones that run all the time, you can kind of a lot of times I might have my mind made up on the overnight already. Hey, I already know I like that horse. So it's the ones where I have to do all the homework, all the replays, all the pedigree stuff, all the Bruno, watching his works. Those are the ones that get all. That's when I really hit them hard in the morning.
what's your go-to wager? What's the one that your bread and butter that you enjoy playing the most?
Well, it's obviously any one of the picks, the 4, 5, or 6, I suppose, and then betting a horse to win. I need to play a little bit more exact as I don't really play. I'm not really a race type of guy. I've always kind of been trying to get those picks.
Okay. Sitting
You
here
know,
looking at this Kentucky Oaks wager. You got anything that you like for the Oaks? That this future wager is this weekend. I know we talked about the Derby. You got anything on the Philly side? Just looking at these horses.
well, I mean, I like the girl that ran second to Bella Ballerina in Kentucky. She didn't run good in her first. Atropa, is that her name for Cherie?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, she didn't do much for me in her first start. I don't know when she's coming back, if she's still on the trail. I haven't looked to see if she's working, but she was my girl at the end of the 2 year old season. So I'm expecting more from her from that first start. That's even if she's still in training. Let me see if I can.
She's not on the wager. She would be in the all others.
She didn't make the wager, huh?
No.
She might not have. Who knows? I know she only ran the one time.
Yeah, I haven't seen no recorded workouts since.
Yeah, maybe something happened to her.
Mhm.
The Oaks, I'm a little behind on. I have to admit, I haven't really watched a lot of it. Obviously, Bella Ballerina probably deserves somewhat of the top billing so far, but I can't really help you with the Oaks though, CC.
Well,
I
I
need
hear
I need you to help me.
I need CC to help me too.
Hey, a meaning? I'll give you two that I might bet. Meaning
Okay.
for Michael McCarthy,
All right.
who I think she's run 3 times. She ran the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, and I think she ran fourth, and then came back to win and beat Explorer last month, 2 months ago. So she's maybe they'll ship her
I might
west for
have
the
I might
action.
have bet her in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly.
Yeah, I liked her. And then I'll give you a bomb 50 to 1 just singing. That's Kent Sweezy.
Yeah, I know the
Philly,
horse. Yeah.
yeah, Philly by Justify. I assume she may come back in the Fairgrounds Oaks in a couple weeks. He's 50 to 1. Closer, maybe one of those horses. If the pace melts down, she could pick them all off. And Sarah Hamilton gave me that horse back at Keeneland. But anyway, yeah, that's
I like the Oaks future pool. My best one ever, She Dares the Devil. I bet both of the fillies that had the same sire. Who's her sire?
It was Daredevil.
Yep,
Yep.
Daredevil, and then the one that Kenny McPeak had that beat Authentic.
Swiss
Uh,
Skydiver.
Swiss
Yeah,
Skydiver. Yep.
yeah.
Hmm.
So that was the year with the COVID year. So somehow I made an exacta box on both of them back in like right about now, and then I had to wait all the way till September,
Oh wow.
and I ended up getting I think I got for my $20 of I think I bet like a $19 box. I think I got like 2,100 or 2,400. That was a pretty cool one.
Nice.
Nice. Good deal.
Yeah. I really liked She Dares the Devil. She was pretty cool. I when she won the Oaks, I lost my voice for about a day.
All right, Alan, take it away.
Yeah, I tell you what I want to know, Tony, is these what do you call them? Cannon stabilizers that
Yeah.
jockeys use. How much do they cost?
I think they're about 12 or 1,300.
Because there's this 38-year-old MILF that just moved in down the street, and what I've been using just doesn't work. So I'm willing to go for that or whatever. So 1,200, you say? Let me get on Amazon here real quick or whatever. But I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
That's awesome.
Had to keep it light there. You know what? Attention, Turfway Park, by the way. Why? How are they not utilizing? How have they not come up with the Tony Awards yet? They should be institute the Tony Awards, where on a weekly basis you come up with the jockey that you like for that week, or the trainer, the horse. And I mean, it seems like it's an easy thing to do, but since they haven't done yet, I'll put you on the spot for the meet and give out some Tony Awards. Jockey of the meet, horse of the meet, performance of the meet, trainer. Give me something real quick. I know who I have in mind, but you tell me. You're there every day. Tell me who you think.
Well, geez, I think right now the jockey of the meet. I mean, so far compared to the holiday meet, and then even the way this meet's played out, you have to give your props to Walter Rodriguez.
Oh, definitely, definitely, yeah.
I think he deserves it. I know Luan's the leading jock right now, but I mean, what Walter's done has been pretty amazing. He's always been a pretty good jockey. So right now he's getting my jockey of the meet. I don't know about as far as horse of the meet. That's kind of a tough one. I'm trying to think.
Great White or
Yeah,
oh,
Great White, I guess, is kind of up there.
my own the Eric Foster horse. I think he's up Thursday or something. That's a really good one. There's a couple.
Joe
Joe
Shiesty could be
Shiesty.
horse of the meet.
Who's that low level claimer that's won like 3 races? Starts with a Z,
Z. I'm
like
not sure of that one.
Zumbi or something.
Oh,
Yeah,
Zumbi. Yeah,
Zumbi, yeah.
That's who I'd give it to. Just keeps
yeah.
winning.
There you go.
That used to be
I,
Ryan Walsh.
I guess I'd go Joe Shiesty right now. He beat Howard
Yeah, that's a
Wolowitz,
good
and
one.
what he
That's
did
a
the
good
other
one.
night was pretty impressive. But
Trainer. You got a trainer? Off the
boy,
top of your
that's
head?
that one's kind of wide open. For Eric's doing a great job. I mean, he's got a big shot. So right
Kelsey
now,
Danner. Kelsey Danner's had a good meet.
she's had a
Yeah.
good meet. Yeah,
Yeah, there's
Mike
a few.
Maker as always. John Ennis has done good. So
You know,
Making me try to cheat and get to Equibase and look up some of these statistics.
it is a long meet, brother. It is a long meet.
It is. It's funny. It's like I always tell people ask me like, okay, yeah, I remember like what happened today? Who won? I'm like, I don't know. And they're all, what do you mean you don't know? You called all the races. And I'm like, when that first race is over, I forgot about race one. And when race two is over, I forgot about race two. And by the end of the night, it might take me a day or two to remember what actually happened that particular day. I
Yeah,
think
you have to
that's
put it out of your head.
you
I
have
learned
to.
that working there this winter. I mean, there's just so much information at that place that, like, I mean, that's the only way that you can stay on top of it.
And when you've got to memorize 10, 12 horses a race, you have to be able to. It's amazing that that sometimes I don't call the horses from race four and race five. I wonder, I question myself sometimes going, geez, how don't, because sometimes when I'm warming up, I'll start saying a horse that's already run earlier in the night when I'm warming up, and I'm like, hey, he already ran.
Right.
You know, we were talking earlier about your race calls. You know, I'm a fan. I love any pop culture reference. I'm into the music. I wish you did it every race. I'll tell you right now, if I was a race caller, I'd be pissing people off because I would throw puns in there on every race, and I'd be out of a job in 3 days. So I'd like to see you do it more often, to be honest with you.
I got it.
But the Great White Call, I'm a fan of that because I like
Yeah.
that type of music and stuff. But
Sure.
when you're going through a card, are you like looking at horses that potentially could win, and then you're making little mental notes of something that you might come up with? Just keep it in the chamber, so to speak, in case it's and you got a chance to use it, or are you doing it on the fly? Or is it how's that
No,
work?
they're definitely kind of pre-thought. That's for sure. It's sometimes they hit me a little later. A horse could be coming near the gate and it might hit you, but for the most part, um, you kind of have your thoughts what you wanted to say. I thought that was appropriate with him because he had paid a pretty good number in both races. So I
Hmm.
was like, once
Hmm.
bitten, twice shy. If you got burned the first time, you're probably scared to come back with him. And big, plus, like you said, that's great white. I couldn't go down and give them one of their love songs in the call, that's for sure. So, but yeah, it's amazing too. Like when they'll cross the wire, and then all of a sudden, right after I get done doing Winter Circle, I'm like, oh my goodness, I had a golden opportunity to say this, and I did it.
So that brings me to my next point, right? Because I just said uh, I'm all for that. And there's a horse called Susudio there at Turfway Park. It's a
Yeah.
$15,000 maiden claimer. I told these guys off air I am willing to go claim that horse for 15,000 before the meet ends. Drop him in for 5, which I know he'll win at, just so I can hear you call the race, call him across the finish line first. So do you have anything worked up for Susudio in case that happens?
I haven't yet. I guess I'll start working on that for you. That's Phil Collins, right?
That's exactly right, or whatever. So I'll lose money on the claim if I can get him across the wire and you come up with something good, right? So practice your stuttering for Susudio there, okay?
There you go. Yeah, no, it's like a lot of stuff hits me. The name. The name kind of is funny, and I'll try to think of something. I mean, Curly Larry Mo, the first time he ran and he hit the super, I was so upset with myself that I didn't do that. And so then the other night when he got away from the starting gate, I'm like, I might not get another opportunity the rest of the year with this guy. I've got to do it right now. So I was like, Curly and Larry Mo with a bad start.
And it's so appropriate because now you're on here with Three Stooges, right? So it all works out well together.
No, it's funny because I'll get off the air and I'm just like I'll kind of, how do I say this? Announcers talk to themselves up in the booth. I do.
Yes.
I talk to myself up in the booth, and it's like some of it's well, obviously you're talking to yourself the whole time when you're warming up. If anybody's listening, they're probably going, "What is this guy doing?" It was funny. I had an old boss at Finger Lakes, and he didn't know a lot about racing. This was he was our what was he was operations manager or something. So anyway, he brought his wife and daughter up to the booth one time, and here I am doing my pre-race warm up, and his daughter is giving me the stink eye like there's no tomorrow. And I looked at her, I go, "Is there something wrong?" She's all, "What are you doing?" She's like, "You don't even have your mic on." And I go, "I'm warming up. This is how announcers warm up. I say the name out loud so that way I'm projecting with my voice, getting my voice strong for the race. And that's just the way I've done it. I don't warm up silent where I'm saying all these names underneath my breath. I want my voice to go through the muscles and releasing the tone. And she's looking at, she had no, and finally when I explained it to her, oh, I get it now. But it was like, at first she was looking at me like, God, this guy's a whack job.
It's the same thing Celine Dion has to do or something, right? They got to warm their voice up and stuff, right? It's your instrument, right?
Yes, sir.
It's
That's for sure.
what pays the bills. But what also pays the bills for you, as we've discussed earlier, is the handicapping. I've seen it in person. We've all seen it, but we've seen you up close. You're an excellent handicapper and an excellent horse player. Those two things don't always jibe, and the two have to jibe if you want to be successful, right? I think you fit the bill on both. And I will tell you one of the
I'm not that successful
well,
at the gambling aspect. I'm
I could.
That's the toughest part, is it?
It is.
Nobody had the year of the beard like last year, like Mr. Riggs. That's
Year of the beard.
It
Love
is ticket structure though, right? Just ticket structure, knowing what you're doing and how to do these things, whatever. I've seen you work. You're very good at it. And one of the things that you've taught me is about the spacing. You talk about spacing a lot. It's something I
I
hadn't
know.
really thought about over the decades of that I've been playing. I have my own little things, right? But that's one thing you worked into my toolkit, and I'd like you to talk about the spacing thing because it has proven beneficial for me. So I thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome. Thank my father. My father was the one that taught me how to read a racing form, and a lot of his handicapping basically was about freshness. And I'm still trying to learn a little bit more about it as far as like sometimes I won't when the wheel back can be applied, when the wheel back works. I'm not good at that, but spacing. Just my father always used to like to tell me, the fresher horse has the most opportunity to win. The other ones that if they're running too much, I think they're just gonna kind of be a little peaked out. And I know a lot of people, some people believe in it, some people don't. But I've always been a big fan of it. I've owned horses, and I've had success with my horses getting good spacing, getting freshened up. You can recognize sometimes when you make a claim, a certain horse might be in dire need of a little bit of a freshening, and that just means like maybe he doesn't run for 6 or 8 weeks, and then he gets another 4 to 6 weeks off after that. And I think they're going to give you optimal and peak performances. And I've always believed in it. And my father was as good as anybody I ever saw do this game. I've talked about my dad, I think, on this show before. My dad had a chemistry degree from UConn. He's one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life, and he was taken away from me way too soon. He died when he was 44, and I only got to spend, he took me to races a lot when I was younger. We didn't get a lot of time as an adult, obviously. I mean, technically, I couldn't even drink a beer with him at the racetrack, so that was something that kind of sucks. But he was so good at it, and I saw him make a lot of money in times when there weren't a lot of bets out there to make a lot of money. The $5 exacta, the $2 double.
Hmm.
I think my father might take $100 or $200 to the races back in the day, and you bet 20 to win on a horse, and you get on a little bit of a roll. Next thing you know, you're boxing three horses with that $5 exacta, and you're betting the horse $20 to win. And I'd see my father leave $3,000-4,000 in his pocket. It was he was one of the best I ever saw do it. So he's the one that really got me into thinking about the spacing. And as I've gotten older, it's just been something that I truly believe in. I just think sometimes if a horse comes back too quick, how's he going to give you that same performance?
That's
Just
right.
and sometimes, and I've noticed in the cheaper races, I think the wheelbacks can work, especially sometimes with the real low level maiden claimers. I don't think the spacing is as important as it is with the stakes horses or the good allowance horses, but just something I've always believed in.
I agree, and you've taught me about that, and I would thank your father too if he was here because he's helped me hit a few nice tickets with that. So you've pointed me in that direction, and he has too. So I do appreciate it. One of the things that gets on my nerves about Turfway, and I've said this for years and stuff, I get tired of the misconceptions about it. It's one of the best tracks to bet. It's just simply is. I'm very narrow in the races that I play, and Turfway provides the opportunity to make money. Is it easy sometimes? No, it's sure as court it's not. But what do you believe are some of the misconceptions about Turfway?
Well, I'm like some of that stuff you said. People don't think that sometimes the horses maybe don't run true performances. I think synthetic racing is difficult in the sense, and I've talked about this before. Post positions mean a lot in synthetic racing, and and kickback is something that people need to equate a little
Right.
bit more. That sometimes bad performances might be due more to kickback than we're realizing, and sometimes a certain night the kickback could be a lot more harder than the others. I like it. I'm not going to lie. There are some races where I can look at a
Yes.
horse and I'll be like, "Wow, I don't see any rhyme or reason how this horse won."
That's usually in the last race of the day.
Well, it's gets back to sometimes the lower level horses. Sometimes those horses will run performances that just kind of out of nowhere. The one thing you have to realize sometimes with synthetic is that you have to be willing to forgive a race or two, and you got to be willing to go back a little bit in their form, and you can try to forgive a race or two and get back to that, and you could get some price. But if you like competitive fields, big fields, it's definitely something cool to bet. The other thing I think that's difficult sometimes with synthetic is pace scenarios. Sometimes you might have the same horses. You could have eight out of eight horses running in the same race, and you might get who knows how many different results, and you might even get different pace scenarios in those
Yes.
affairs too. So that makes it challenging. That's for
One thing with me is I hear people say Turfway is a bunch of chaos. Turfway is a bunch of chaos. Yeah, occasionally it is. So do your tickets represent the chaos? If you believe that Turfway offers a lot of chaos and you're insisting on playing Turfway, are you working chaos into your tickets? You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing I always wonder about people. It's like, oh, so I don't understand why people don't do that. I don't know if it's so much chaos sometimes as the fact that it's full fields and there's cheaper horses and stuff. So like you said, and I don't even factor kickback in enough. So that's just the way I see it. So if you believe chaos is there, factor chaos in, right?
The thing that makes Turfway really hard is probably the field sizes, and
Yeah.
because it's hard to get somewhat of a friendly size ticket when you've got so many horses, and even if you get like if you're playing a pick five, if you've got two singles and then you have three races with 12 horses in there, it's going to get costly.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
going to get costly, and somebody's going to get left off the ticket. The pick fives I think are very difficult to hit because I
Yes.
think they require a lot of money. I think you have to be willing, you have to put up some pretty good sized tickets. I mean, unless you've got a total beat on the card, that the sequence where you've got two singles and maybe you've got one race where you've narrowed it down to two, then maybe you can kind of open it up a little bit in those other two legs. And if you happen to create some value with your singles and then get lucky in the two races you spread, then you could hit a home run. But you know, hey, if it was easy, everybody'd be doing it, right?
Amen, brother. Amen. Last thing I'll say is, you know what you remind me of, Tony? You remind me of like back in the old days, like the Hollywood police chief who's getting tired of his young gun uh, officers who keep running rogue on him and stuff, and you want to take their guns from them, like a Mel Gibson or like a Bruce Willis. If this horse racing thing never works out, I could see you doing that in Hollywood. Do you ever think maybe getting an acting?
No, no way.
You know, I'm talking about the old trope of the old frustrated police chief who's getting
I
sick
hear
of.
you.
Yeah.
I hear what you're
Yeah,
saying. Yeah.
okay. I'd like to see that. Just keep that in mind if things go south or whatever, okay, buddy?
I'm already getting grumpy as I get older. Maybe that would be a good role for me,
There
huh?
you go. No, I agree. All right, Geoff.
I like that idea. I think Tony would be a great actor. I think he'd be a
Suspenders,
great
yeah.
personality in a movie or a show or something. He's got the great voice for it, and yeah, he'd shine. So think about that, Tony. Second career maybe, but yeah, before we let you go, Tony, I know you're a big Raiders fan. I know this isn't horse racing related, but we are right in the free agent frenzy right now. I know y'all lost Max Crosby, which has to sting a little bit. We got some nice assets there, and looks like you made some nice moves so far. I know y'all got Tyler Linderbaum. Hopefully, can anchor that offensive line to maybe with Fernando Mendoza coming in. But what are your thoughts on your Raiders? How are we looking going into the football season?
Well, it was tough the other night when they traded Max on me. Max is my
Yeah,
favorite Raider. There's another jersey that I won't have a current player on, right,
Oh,
guys? How
yeah.
many?
right.
It was funny. I was watching something. I think it was on Twitter where there was a Dolphin fan, and this kid had like 10 jerseys, and none of those players are on the team anymore. You had like two of Tua. You
Wow.
had a Tyreek Hill. It's like you think about it, this guy's supposed to spend $1,500 on jerseys, and he doesn't even have an active player. So when they traded Max the other night, I was like, "Yo, man, I get it. The 14th pick this year. I was concerned with next year if the Ravens do well, then that first rounder is going to be late. So I was all heartbroken. But last night kind of made up for it. As soon as we got Tyler, I was like, okay, there we go.
Hmm.
And they got a couple other players that I wanted. I wanted N'Kobe Dean, the ex
Yep.
Georgia linebacker, and they brought in his old college teammate as well. They made quite a few moves, so I think they're hopefully heading in the right direction. Being a Raider fan is difficult. Every year, it's a lot of broken promises. I have one of my best friends in California. We talk about it all the time. I'm like, we might not see them win a bowl again in this life. It's been so long, and took it for granted when I was young how often they won and they were so competitive. So I just want to see them get back to being somewhat competitive. Maybe so. I think things are maybe going in the right direction with this new head coach Clint Kubiak, and then what all the moves they made, and hopefully we get some good draft picks and get some Raider Nation, get be proud to be a Raider fan again.
Get back to
That's
those Jim
right.
Plunkett days, right? The Jim Plunkett and
Jim
Lester
Plunkett,
Hayes and
yeah,
Stabler.
Stabler. We had season tickets. We were up on the. My father had season tickets. We were in the second row from the top, but we were there, and so that was pretty cool. That was right after
Awesome.
they won the bowl, and I've always been kind of a Raider fan, and yeah, those were great days. That's for sure. Those were some pretty good teams.
Absolutely. Well, good luck to the Raiders. I do think that they are heading in the right direction. I think that they've embraced the rebuild
I
and
don't
they're
think they
doing what
can
they
go
need to
any
do.
worse. They can't be any. Tell me they
They,
can't be worse, right, guys?
there's only one way to go, you know? Yeah. That's right. Well, we know you're a true fan. You're sticking with them through thick and thin. So, yeah, well, you'll be there for when things turn back around again. But
I sure hope so.
all right, Tony. I know you got to prep for the week, so we're not going to keep you. But thank you very much for joining us tonight. It's been fun as always. I think the world of you personally and professionally. Love getting to work with you this winter. Got Derby season coming up. It's going to be awesome. So just really appreciate you hanging out with us and giving us some time tonight, Tony.
Right on, guys. Thanks for having me. You guys have been nothing but supportive ever since day one, and maybe I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for you guys. You guys, I think, had a big influence of getting me here. So thank you, guys.
You're the best. Appreciate you, man.
All right, real quick, just for my own benefit, I'm going to read off a horse in the Kentucky Derby Future Pool 5, and I want you to tell me what is the lowest odds you would bet this horse at. Now, Alan, I know you don't like the future pools, but just
Gotcha.
play
Gotcha.
along. Just don't be a prude this time.
And so, are you saying as a future wager or as on Derby Day? As a future wager.
As in the future wager,
Okay.
remember we're 7 weeks out.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna read. I'm not gonna read all of them, but a lot of them. Blackout time,
Uh, 40 to 1.
I'd, I'd probably need more. 55 to 1.
40 to 1's morning line.
Huh.
Okay.
Canaletto for Chad Brown.
Okay, this is a trick question because I told you guys earlier that I like this
I
horse,
know you like him. I'll let you go first.
but I don't think he's pointed to this race. I think I heard he's pointing him to the Lexington. Maybe I'm wrong about that. The Lexington. So that gives you that doesn't sound like a Chad Brown move, but of course he's sending Paladin. But if he is going to the Lexington, I might take, and it'd be his third career start. 40 to 1 be 40 to 1.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair.
I think
41's
you
fair.
could
I'll
get
agree
that
with
out of
you,
him too,
Alan.
because I
Yeah.
think he's going to fall under the radar a little bit. But I do like this horse.
30 to 1 morning line. Number 5 is Cherokee Nation for Baffert.
I'm not as familiar with him as you guys are, so I'll let you go.
I know a lot of people really like him. I'm also not like super familiar with him. I'd say he's probably going to be also just being a Baffert horse. I think he'll probably take more money than he should. So I'd say I would probably lay whatever price he is rather than take it. Maybe 30 to 1 range. I would take 35 maybe.
20 to 1. I would take 20 to 1. He looks like a
Yeah.
horse that might want to go a mile and a quarter.
Hmm.
I like him a little bit. Chief Wallaby.
Ooh, 20. Ooh, he still is. There's comparisons to Sovereignty, even though he's not as talented as Sovereignty, and he's looked very good. And his race in the Fountain of Youth resembled Sovereignty, which obviously worked out for Sovereignty in the Derby. But that said, he's only had two career starts, so there could be a little hype behind it, and hype means lower odds. So I would still want 25 to 1.
Yeah, I was thinking I'd probably take 20 to 1 on him, but
Yeah.
yeah, same ballpark. Yeah,
10 to 1. I'm not a.
I would
No.
not take him at 10. No,
No.
There's uncertainty that he would even make the gate, in my opinion.
right.
Just
And you could get 10 to 1 on Derby Day, I'm sure.
class president for Todd Pletcher, winner of the Rebel.
As you guys know, I like him. I bet him, and I thought I lost. I thought I was going to lose that day, but my God, did he fight! He fought down the stretch, which I like, and it's a sign that you might get a mile and a quarter. Um, Still, though, the competition was suspect in that race overall. So I would still want 35 to 1.
Yeah, yeah, probably about the same. I like him. It's just so hard to take any kind
Yes,
of price that you think you might be able to get on Derby Day this far out, just
exactly.
because so much can happen. They can with scratches and just point in different directions, all that stuff. It's like if this is a horse that we think we can get 20, 25 to 1 on Derby Day, like, are we really going to bet him at 30 to 1 today? Like, I don't think I'm going to.
100%.
20 to 1 morning line. Commandment for Brad Cox, winner of the Fountain of Youth.
Ooh, this is a little
That
tricky.
one is one that I would actually break my rule a little bit for. I like Commandment quite a bit. Um, I don't know if I could even get to like 15 though. I'd still say 20 is probably my number. 20 to 1.
20. Now his price could plummet if he has a big race in Florida Derby. So
Yeah.
where he could be the 7 to 1 second choice on Derby Day.
Yeah.
But then he might run a disappointing third, and then you
I'm
get
sure he's
25 to
much
1.
lower on the morning line than the numbers we're throwing out.
I'll say 20, 25 to 1.
6 to 1 morning line.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
No,
I mean,
that's
there's no way I would ever bet that, but
no.
that makes sense. Morning line. Well, yeah, that's about what I expected it to be.
I'm only down to number 9, so I better pick up the pace here. Let's find let's gosh. Nearly for Todd Pletcher, winner of the Holy Bull.
I'm not near. I'm not. Pardon the pun. I'm not nearly as high on him as other people are. He may prove me wrong, and that's completely fine this early. But I didn't. I mean, he didn't really beat anything. That's not his fault. So I'm going to say I won every bit at 30 to 1.
Yeah, he's another that I'm sure the price is way shorter than I would be
Yeah,
interested in. I think 30's fair. 25 I'd probably be interested, but yeah, same range.
I need to see one more.
Yeah.
8 to 1.
Yeah, there's no
Paladin.
way.
Paladin is the favorite.
I,
Looks
I
like
will say I like Commandment quite a bit more
Yeah,
than Nearly.
Paladin could be the one, but I mean, again, if now he went out on Bluegrass Day, let's say he goes out on Bluegrass Day, and he wins by 3 lengths, then you're going to still get 6 to 1 on Derby Day because of the breadth of the field. So with that said, I've got to have 20 to 1 now before that race goes because he wasn't overly impressive in Louisiana.
5 to 1.
It's
Let
insane.
me
Five.
throw out
Wow.
I'm gonna throw out a group here. Reagan's Honor, excuse me. Reagan's Honor is the allowance winner for Sherry DeVoe.
Yes, very
Uh,
impressive. Yeah.
Renegade won the Sam F. Davis at Tampa for Pletcher. Silent Tactic was nosed out in the Rebel for Mark Cassie.
Yeah.
Let me start with Reagan's Honor. No 0 points, right? So I'm gonna need 75 to 1 because the horse has 0 points at the moment. So he's got one prep to get points. So
Right. Yeah. Are we betting, if we were able to bet on like, a horse that's going to have a really nice career, probably would be more interested in Reagan's Honor. Not super confident he's even going to get to the gates in the Derby, but I like the talent a lot. I'm totally lost on numbers, so I'm not even going to throw one out there, but I don't know what's the morning line for Reagan's Honor.
25 to 1. I think that's way too low.
It's too
Way too
oh
low.
short.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
0 points.
Uh-huh. What's
Renegade.
Renegade? I do like Renegade.
I do like
I think
Renegade.
Renegade's got a good shot to be in the gate, and I think is the kind of horse that would excel in the
20 to
Derby.
1.
Oh, I would take that.
I think
That's
that's
Yeah,
worth it.
that's more reasonable.
I might break my future pull rule of something like that. I'm not saying he's going to win or nothing like that, but I think that's fair.
Hmm.
Silent Tactic is 20 to 1. I think that's probably
Yeah,
it's too low.
a little low. Yeah, I like Renegade better at the same price.
He couldn't get
Uh,
past class president despite the fact he had all the momentum.
And the last one we'll talk about is the Puma. This price kind of surprises me, but kind of like this horse a little bit at this price. I'll take 25 to 1 on it, I think.
Fair.
Oh,
That's fair.
yeah, that's higher than I thought it would be too. I was
Yeah.
thinking more like 15. So yeah, 25. I'm more interested.
I think
Because
What's
something's got
Potente? Is Potente like 20?
15.
It's a little low for me too, even
It's
though I like that
15 is
horse.
too low. Something's got to give here. There's a lot of contenders that are lightly raced. Somebody's
Yeah.
gonna get lost in the shuffle here. So,
Mhm.
you know. All right. Are you ready for story time?
Yes.
hit me.
Okay. I'm gonna read this straight from Wikipedia. I just learned about this yesterday from my doctor. The Kentucky meat shower. Now, uh, listen closely. This is the 150th anniversary of the Kentucky meat shower, which was an incident that occurred for a period of several minutes between 11 a.m. and 12 noon on March 3rd, 1876, where what appeared to be chunks of red meat fell from the sky in a 100 by 50 yard, I assume that's 100 by 50 feet yard area near Olympia Springs in Bath County, Kentucky. Now, for those of you that don't know, Bath County is a little bit east of Lexington, maybe about 45 minutes, an hour past Lexington near Mount Sterling, I do believe. Never been there, but it's kind of out in that uh, direction. Uh, on March 3rd, 1876, a farmer's wife named Mrs. Crouch was making soap on her porch when she reported seeing a piece of meat fall from the sky. She said she was 40 steps from her house when the meat began to hit the ground. Mrs. Crouch and her husband believed the event was a sign from God. Mrs. Crouch is on record saying that it was snowing meat and that the meat fell with a snapping like noise when it struck.
Hmm.
What
Joe
was the
Jordan,
message?
Joe
Are you getting
Jordan,
there?
I don't know about that. Joe Jordan, a grocer in the area, stated that the smell was offensive to the extreme, like that of a dead body. The phenomenon was covered by Scientific American and the New York Times, as well as other publications. Uh, let's see what else we got here. The headline from the New York Times was quote, "Flesh descending in a shower." A shower of meat had rained upon the Crouch family near Olympia Springs in rural Bath County, Kentucky. Let's see what else we got here. The possible explanation from this was that there was a group of vultures maybe that flew overhead, and they said when vultures get frightened, they'll throw up. It's a lot like what I do. If I'm frightened, I'll just puke, and they just puked a bunch of meat out. So the funny thing is, they had like people descend on this town and actually took samples of the meat. Some of them had taste tests. Uh, and some of them thought it was a bear. Some of them thought it was, like the lungs of a human. Uh, but nobody knew exactly. But last week in Owingsville or near Owingsville, they had the Kentucky Meat Shower Festival.
They do a reenactment?
In fact, they did a reenactment where, well, let's see what else they had. They did a mystery meat tasting, a chili
Oh,
cook-off, paper airplane race, meatball toss, bologna roll, a bologna toss, a hot dog eating contest. It says less said the better. I don't know what that means. Okay. Let's see. And then when all that was done, they all gathered around this farm and an airplane flew over. Well, let me just read you what this guy said. Uh, as we began the reenactment with Holly Howard playing the part of Mrs. Rebecca Crouch, we could hear a sound in the distance. The crowd began to chant meat, 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 and an actual kettle of vultures circled above. Then a small plane appeared, making a quick pass over the field. As it circled around, the first drop of meat was a little short, the second was better, and the third was perfect. Small pieces of vacuum sealed beef sticks, 1,876 in all, slowly twirled to the ground in their custom made packaging. Luckily, the crowd furthest away was able to pick up the meat from the first drop as it had drifted across the street. The kids took to the field, collecting all the pieces they could, as each piece had a number on it for a chance to win prizes. By Saturday evening, 80% of the meat and prizes had been claimed. Apparently, this is a once in a lifetime event. Oh, and the last thing, there was actually a piece of meat from the original drop that had survived. And the inspiration from all this came from a guy at Transylvania University in Lexington who was cleaning out a basement. And they found a bunch of historical items, one of which was a piece of meat in this jar. It looks like maybe formaldehyde is preserving this piece of meat. So this jar was presented at the festival, but apparently it's on display at Transylvania. If you ever want to go check this out, so
Okay.
yeah, the
Wow.
Kentucky Meat Shower Festival took place, the first and maybe only, unless they do it again in 150 years. So
That sounds a little different than the meat shower I got during my college hazing.
on that note,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh man.
We celebrate that every 10 years too. Yeah, we reenact that.
Yeah.
well, I was hoping this thing was going to happen every year. Maybe we could send one of you all out as a correspondent
There
to
you go. That's a good
report
idea.
back. So
I think that sounds like a job for Brandon Jaggers.
I agree.
yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. He would sponsor it probably.
Yep.
All right.
Reporting
That's it.
live.
I got to admit, I'd never heard about that before.
Me either. Me
Bill.
either.
I've definitely heard that story, and I don't know where I heard it, but when you were talking about the taste testing of the meat, I've definitely heard that before.
Can you imagine?
I'm not volunteering for it. Tell you that much.
Unfortunately, I can. Unfortunately, I can.
Man.
Okay. All right. Well, on that note, I think it's time to close her down. On behalf of Mr. Tony Calo, the announcer at Turfway Park and Ellis Park, and Alan Schneider, Jeff Riggs, and a cast of thousands, I'm CC Broaddus, reminding you that gambling money ain't got no home. Good night.